The sounds of sirens, background noise to some, but a sign of potential trauma to others. That includes police officers who experience high rates of depression, anxiety, PTSD, and burnout. Job hazards, financial struggles, and too much overtime all contribute to those rates. Now one department is taking a stand to protect its officers' mental health. Alexa Liacco shows us how.
It's a job balancing life and death, a position of power in our community, a duty often costing more than a person can earn.
Officers just hit with a rock in the head. Officers just hit with a rock in the head.
But the call to serve overshadows the sacrifice.
There's been some instances across my career that both physically, mentally, and emotionally impacted me, and I carry that with me to this day.
Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Sergeant Donnie Penix has blue blood running through his veins.
I started in 1997 as a patrol officer.
Since then, he's served in several different roles, many of those years alongside his father and his wife. The career stamping both pride and pain on his heart.
It is one of the most difficult things to do as a human being.
The job became even tougher after an officer-involved shooting in 2016.
The straw that broke the camel's back, if you will.
The sergeant and his officers were tracking a man wanted for murder. When that suspect shot at officers, Penix and his team responded with deadly force.
It was the worst of the worst night where one of mine is injured, we've taken on a life, and it was probably the most traumatic experience I've ever been in as a police officer.
After that night, Penix went back to his usual shift feeling anything but normal.
It sent me spiraling down a really, really dark place. Because every day I relived that experience over and over again.
So much so, he almost quit.
I set my gun and badge on my table at home and I said, I'm done. But I made a commitment to this profession and commitment to the people that I work with and work for to see it out.
So he did something he'd never done before. He reached out for help.
We had that armor up where we're supposed to be the ones that help people, but we rarely ask for help for ourselves.
And the help he got was unique to this department.
You can take a book if you like.
The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department has an on-staff psychologist to help officers by
coming up with different ways to help people deal with the daily stressors, but just also have a better attitude.
A sorely needed conversation because the stress of this job has lifelong impacts.
When you kick into that high gear, it really does potentially take years off a person's life.
Being on patrol and responding to calls is just a small part of the stress police officers encounter. And that's why coping with those traumas is just the start of the resources this department offers.
There was a recent study that said 72% of police officers in the country, the number one stressor was finances. One of the first things that we did here was we brought in a financial counselor.
The department also has peer support groups so officers can lean on each other for help. Deputy Chief Cherie E. Pearsall says normalizing these hard conversations is paving the way for a new kind of officer.
You don't want to send broken people to handle broken situations. We find funding for tactical vests to protect our officers, but we then do a good job of advocating for funding to protect their head and their heart.
Sergeant Penix hopes the work he's done for his own mental health shows the community there are officers out there fighting to truly protect and serve.
We're putting ourselves out there to say it's okay. It's okay to have those emotions. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to ask for help. We're not invulnerable. We're human just like anyone else.
It's this recovery from within that could one day mend the hurt between police and the public.
We can't do our job to the best of our abilities if we're not well inside.
Deep wounds on both sides that will take time and care to heal.
I'm hurt, same way you hurt, like everybody out here is hurt.
For The Race, I'm Alexa Liacco.
More healthcare professionals are dealing with issues of anxiety and depression right now. Researchers say it's connected to the pandemic that's flaring up again across the country. We're exploring options for help and asking how this impacts patients when The Race continues.